So welcome everyone to the webinar. Thanks for being on live. I know a lot of you will be watching this replay. As we go, check out the chat box in the bottom right. You can click on there and type in any questions. I'll keep an eye on it as we go. So we welcome questions. Also welcome any best practices. If there's some things around what we're going to talk about here around time management, energy management, all to make you better as far as your performance, to make your business better. That's the whole goal here. So feel free to share what you do and how you're making a big difference for yourself and for your practice. So again, if we could just mute people as we go, I can kind of mute you if we hear some sound, but just keep yourself muted. There'll be some time if you want to speak up, or again, you can always use the chat box there as we go. So I know a lot of you, for those of you that don't, I've been around Ameriprise a long time. I've been an advisor in your shoes for a long time. I'm really passionate about helping advisors grow. And I feel like I can help exponential clients and prospects through you, through working with all the great practices that I work with across the country. That's all I do full time. I had the privilege to work with some really great ones, some CAC, Barron's top practices. And for me, I'm constantly sharpening my saw and learning how I can get better to help you get better. And that's really taken my journey through to get further educated in what we do. And as I dive into my doctorate degree in performance psychology, I come across so many things that are helpful to you being a better performer. And look, it's the same things that might help your favorite football player be their best on the field, might help your favorite musician be their best in a concert, may help your favorite writer write the latest, greatest, best book. It's all really connected, which is really interesting. And I think as an advisor, our individual performance is really important, because what we do when you're talking to people, one-on-one clients, prospects, in a way, it's almost like a miniature performance. So we'll just talk about that aspect about how you can constantly get better and make a difference for your clients and prospects. So again, a lot of this is being tested. A lot of this is best practices from a lot of practices, a lot of great practices all over the country. And so I didn't make any of this up. This is all stuff I've learned working on my doctorate, working with a lot of you in practices. I've constantly copied efficiencies and things I see working for others. I'll gladly copy and paste and share them. So that's where a lot of this comes from. So really, to me, this whole thing's about how can you be at your best more often. There's probably points in your day and points in your week that you might be at your best, but it's hard to stay at our best the whole week. The average person starts their day with a little bit higher energy, then it sort of declines through the morning. And then after lunch, you might have a little bit of pop-up, and then it quickly declines down towards the rest of the day. That's just an average human being. So if you've ever felt like there's not much gas in the tank, if you're conducting an evening meeting with a client, that's why. It's nothing. It's nothing that's wrong with you. You're just a human being. So we'll talk about that and how we can control it. And I think that word control is important. What are the things in your control that can help you be at your best? So time's a big one. Now, there's a lot of books. There's a lot of articles around time and energy. And there's a great author, Jim Lohr, who I really adored through the years, gotten to speak with about performance psychology. I first learned about his book, I don't know, it was the early 2000s that it came out. And he did a lot of analysis of just performance of people, and a lot of it was focused around energy management. And his book started from a Harvard Business Review that he put out around the corporate athlete. That's kind of what got him popular. He wrote this book about energy management. He focused on tennis players. If any of you have written it, he investigated why the heck are the best tennis players number one every year. The same few are like the top three. Why is that? They're not physically better than the number 23 player. Why can this be? And it all came down to energy management. In between points, the best tennis players were able to come down in between points, slow down their breathing, slow down their heart rate. They were able to just take a break in between every point, where the lower ranked players had a heightened state and eventually they were going to wear out, which is typically what happens. And I started to pay attention to this after reading the book, and you see tennis matches that the best player, they might lose the first set, or they might get really close and tied, then all of a sudden the better player just dominates after that. It's really quite an interesting, concept here. But a lot of them said it's all about energy. It's not about time. And I talk with my good friend Doug Lennox a lot about how you can control energy through time. So we're going to start with time, and then we're going to talk about energy management, and all this flows right through to stress reduction, improving your performance. And if you can improve your performance, it's going to improve your business growth. So when it comes to time compression is really what we're going to talk about there. How can you take what you do and do it in less time? If you can continually do that in business, I tell you, it leads to tremendous success. I have a great mentor who's a great guide to me on time compression. And he told me, John, when I started to look at time, I had 1 hour units or meeting blocks that I would have, and every hour of my calendar was planned out. And he said, then I made the shift to make those 30-minute slots. So 30-minute blocks of time where meetings and things I was working on were every 30 minutes. Then he said, I got just as much done in 30 minutes as I did in 60, especially in a meeting with colleagues or with a client, we did just as much. So he took it further. He said, hey, you know what? I'm going to build 15-minute units of time. And so every 15 minutes, I'm going to be working on some things. I know some of you have adopted this and really have gotten a lot more done in less time having these units. So this gentleman condensed his units down to 10 minutes. And then just a few years ago, he said, hey, I'm down to 5. I've got 5-minute units. I'm able to take what I did in an hour 20 years ago, I can now do in 5 minutes. It works. It's possible to do. And we'll talk about the process and how to do that and how to take steps towards it. Now, you're not going to flip a switch and suddenly do something that took an hour. It's going to take you 5 minutes. This is a journey to go on, and it might take you 10 years or 20 years to get to that point. But if we can find a little bit of time in your week, it can make you more productive, help you with energy, which is what we're all about. So just remember this concept. It's starting with doing the same in less time. It's almost like if you ever listened to cassette tapes, that was kind of my era growing up. The 8-tracks were a little bit before me. My parents had a record player. You could play it on the wrong speed, and it would sound fast. It would sound really funny. If you've ever fast-forwarded a cassette tape and it rolls through, it sort of fast-forwards to the song. I listen to a lot of audiobooks on my phone, and I listen to them at 1.5 times speed. You can choose all these different speeds on Audible, the app through Amazon for audiobooks. And you know what? I get through books in less time, and it's just a little bit quicker. So think about that. How can you have like a fast forward going for your business? How can you do it in a little bit higher speed, 1.5 times what you're currently doing it? I think that's key. And look, this can be applied to literally everything in your business. Everything can be compressed. Everything can be done in less time. And if you can apply that everywhere, that's what opens up the room for you to do more. And it's something that you can control here. I mean, you can control your time. We all have the same amount of hours, minutes, seconds in our days, in our weeks. No one gets more time than another. We all have the same amount of time, and we choose to use it how we do, how we sleep, how we spend time with family, the time we invest in business. It's all the same amount of time, but if you can compress this, that's something that we can control here. So here's an easy exercise. This is something that got me started on it, is look at the things that take the most amount of time in your business. What takes the most amount of time? How can you do it in less time? And I stumbled upon this by accident about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, me and my wife, Kathleen, we have 2 sons, James and William. Our younger son, William, was born. He's about 10 and a half. And after he was born, my wife developed all these food allergies. We didn't realize it. And she kept having all these issues. We spent a lot of time in the hospital, and they just said, you've got some weird autoimmune disease. Turned out she just had gluten and dairy allergy and some other little allergies that she was just poisoning herself. We had no idea. But one of the times she was in the hospital, the doctor said, there's something weird going on with your heart. Let's take some tests and have a specialist come in. Turned out she had this weird heart defect her whole life since she was born. They normally find it in babies. She basically had a little extra piece in her heart. And the surgeon came and met with us. He said, this might take like 10 or 15 years off your life if you leave it in there. He said, I do this surgery all the time with babies. It's rare to find it in adults because we usually find it in babies. He said, I can do the surgery. Let's get you better. I can do the surgery, but it's full-on open heart surgery. So between all the stuff she went through, having open heart surgery at like 30 years old, oh my gosh, she was bedridden for 6 months. And here I am running 2 businesses. My consulting, coach consulting is booming. My practice is booming. I've got a 6-month-old and a 3.5-year-old kid, and I'm basically a single dad. So it was like time compression forced upon me. And so the only way I thought to get through it, I went to all my clients and said, you know what, gosh, financial planning clients, we normally meet for an hour. Would it be all right with you if we meet for 20 or 30 minutes? I asked all my coach consulting clients, I said, look, we normally meet for 45 minutes. Can we meet in 30 minutes and condense the time a little bit? You know what? We got just as much done in all of those interactions. And I would schedule an hour for all my coach consulting sessions. I'd schedule an hour for all my financial planning client meetings. And you know what? I was knocking them out in 30 minutes. I was forced to. I had to. I was forced to do everything in the business in less time. I just didn't have much time. And thankfully, my wife got through it fine. She's in perfect health now. She's actually in improved health. Everything is great. She's amazing. But after coming out of that fog, I realized, oh my gosh, I did this whole stuff in half the time that I normally do, and then I just kept doing it. And so I learned by accident that it's possible. I was sort of forced into it, but it was a quick learning that, you know what, it's possible to do more in less time. So take those things that take the most time in your calendar, in your day, in your week, and see how can you do it in less. And for a lot of you, your client interactions are probably the highest volume thing that you do. Successful advisors spend most of the week talking with clients, talking with prospects. Now, a lot of us started having these really long meetings because we cover every single thing in the financial plan. We want to go through all this stuff and show how valuable we are. We got all the key areas of financial planning. We're going to talk about your portfolio and show all these cool reports. Clients don't care about all that stuff unless you get some really intense engineer that really wants to get into details. Most people just want to know that they're okay. And I used to start to say to people that, look, we did a whole bunch of work for you, and I'll spare you all the boring hours and hours and hours and hours and hours that my team and I have spent on this. Here's the highlights of what you need to know. It looks like you're going to be okay. If we do these 1 or 2 things, it looks like you're going to be even better. Should we talk about those couple of things that we're going to do? I tried to bring a new item of value every time that we spoke, some new topic, but it didn't cover every topic every time. It condensed the amount of time that we talked. I don't have the book here with me, Supernova Advisor. If you haven't read it, haven't checked it out, it's tremendous. It's on audiobook. There's a physical book. I've become good friends with the author, Rob Knapp, who's tremendous. We're actually planning to do some webinars together. I'll let you know about those when they come up. But Rob had this concept of how he served his clients, which is he called 1242. It's having monthly contact with the top 100 clients, which is all he chose to work with. 4 times a year, he talked about financial planning topics. That was his big, oh my gosh, that's what people want. And then 2 times a year, we're in person. So he basically took what I was doing in these long meetings, and he stretched it out over the course of the year. Now, people say monthly contact, that's crazy. But they were 5 minutes. They were just 5-minute phone calls. They were all scheduled. They were brief 5-minute phone calls to touch base. And the client said, you know what, sometimes I might just have a little question, but since I know I'm talking to you within a month, I just save it for them. I don't email you. I don't call you. I don't have to reach out because I know that we're talking regularly. So that's a really efficient way to condense what you talk about. I'll show you my system, which I 100% copied from practices of how I service people. I broke out the topics throughout the year. It wasn't exactly the seasons of advice. I love those guys, Charlie and Chris, what they do in New York City. It wasn't exactly that, but it was a concept of taking topics and spreading them out throughout the year to give value, but I did it in less time. And clients extremely valued conversations more often. They did not have to be long. And I'm telling you, after we talked a few times on the phone and once we got together, it didn't need an hour and a half. I'd schedule 30 minutes. A lot of times it'd take 20. I also did this trick, which I learned from a great advisor, CAC advisor. He always put a clock behind him, whether it was a virtual meeting like this or if it was an in-person meeting, and he would set it 5 or 10 minutes fast. And I noticed a lot of clients would end the meeting with me early and say, hey, we're at the end of our time. I know you got a lot of meetings. Thank you so much. We got so much value. We're good. And you can compress the highest volume thing that you do. So look at that, the interactions. I think it comes down to covering less in each interaction. Take all the topics you do, break them out throughout the year. I'm telling you, it's possible to serve in the next year all your clients with even more touches in half the time that you're currently doing. This could be the greatest time compression move that you make in your business. It was revolutionary for me. I stumbled upon it by accident. But I'm telling you, it works. The practices that do it, it absolutely works. The other thing that takes the probably second most amount of time of your week, email. I highly recommend getting help with email. I highly recommend getting someone on your team to help run your email. It is a time suck. And if we relate time to energy, I call email as like the greatest energy vampire. It just sucks it right out of people. And think about it. We all get hundreds of emails every day, and so few of them are relevant. So much of them are garbage. So one thing I copied from somebody else was rules in Outlook. If you're getting emails that you don't like, you're getting spam emails, emails from wholesalers or product companies. If you don't want them, man, you can set a rule when it comes in. You right-click on Compass, you click down there, it says rules, basically you can select anything from this email. I'm going to send it to I'm just going to delete it. And for me, I don't like seeing unread emails, so I click on there. I want to delete it, and I want to mark it red, so it doesn't show up as like an unread email in the delete box. I did one today. I've gotten pretty good at identifying them and knocking them out. If a new one comes in, they're going on that you're getting deleted list. It saves so much time. And the other aspect of time when it comes to emails and text, meetings, is think about having templates. I have a lot of you ask me, John, how come you can get a coaching session summary out so quickly? We basically hang up the phone and you email it. Well, guess what? I've done about 25,000 coaching sessions. Whatever we're talking about, there's like a 99.9% chance I've talked with someone else about it. And so my popular topics that advisors tend to want to work on, I built some templates around. I said, hey, this was a really good session with that person. I bet I'm going to talk to other people about it. I'm going to save the nuts and bolts and, take any names out, make it anonymous, and I'm going to save it as a template. That way, when I come across the next person who wants to work on that, I got it. Copy and paste, 90% of the work's done. Put in some customization, bam, you're there. With all my financial planning client meetings, we used basically the follow-up email was my agenda. And my team and I, we'd work on in advance what we were going to work on. Now, remember, it was all planned out for the year. So we really just built a template for each interaction that we had each year. And there was just a little bit of customization. So 90% of the work was done through these templates, and then we just added a little bit. So every interaction seemed different to the client, seemed like it was a custom written email for them because it was different than any email they ever received from us. But It was really efficient and very little work, very little customization. I think any email that you do, if you're responding to a client, you could have a quick email, even if it's 1 second or 1 sentence. It could just be, thanks so much for your email. That was a great question. Let me look into that. I will respond to you with an answer in the next 24 hours. You could have a stock email like that even someone on your team could respond to, standard messages like that. It can really save a lot of time. Text, I use an iPhone, and if you use Android, whatever you use, I use the notes that's in there. And in notes, I keep a bunch of things that I would send in text. I keep them in there so I can copy and paste. So if I have a typical response I tend to send, I do copy, paste, bam, less time than typing. Meetings, team meetings can be monotonous. Those of you that have been through the Traction book, there's some meeting guides there. If you need some, reach out to me. I'll give you some. That is a way you could have templates to condense your meeting. If you're having one-on-ones with people, use a template to help you with your process so it's repeatable, and try and do it within less time. So all these steps are all little things, but they add up to hours and hours per week. It's tremendous. And any of the tasks that you do can result in less steps. This is one thing this is maybe the one thing I figured out on my own. I come in early. I'm usually up at 6 doing a little bit of work, but I'm in my office by 7:30, and I don't start coaching sessions till 8. 7:30 to 8, I'm prepping just like you would for your client meetings. I'm looking ahead, looking at past coaching sessions, looking at your reports on Advisor Compass, looking at what the metrics are going, what we need to work on, what we need to talk about today. I'm getting ready. And I would open up session summaries for the whole day. So when I used to go in order from beginning to end, when I closed the session summary, I had to go and find and pick the next one up. But if I open them in reverse order from the last of the day to the beginning, it saves me a click, because when I closed one, the one who was up next just appeared in Microsoft Word. So little things like that, you can find ways to compress time. Those like 15 clicks a day, hey, that's an email I could send out to one of you, or a text I could copy and paste to one of you. So any task that you do, you can literally compress time. So I wish we had more time to talk about this, but this is just scratching the surface on it. There's endless examples. So keep looking ahead to what you can do, but find like one little thing each week to compress your time. You find one thing, it'll make a big difference. And I tell you what, this flows right into energy management. If you're not pressed for time, that's the big energy vampire. And this is where I think you can control energy through time. And this is a lot of the doctoral work I'm working on. There's not a lot of research about the association. There's like time management stuff. There's energy management stuff. These people say that one doesn't matter. These people say that one doesn't matter. But all this ties together. It really does. So energy management is big. The why you do what you do, it fuels passion. The passion you have for helping people, this business, that's what gives you energy. But energy's finite. It's like these phones we all carry around. They don't last forever. We have to plug them in and recharge them, or else they go out. So we got to use our energy wisely. We got to really pay attention to it. So as we said, there's the influence of time on energy, but I would pay attention to, when do you have the most energy? Do you come in the beginning of the day, you're charged up? Are you drained at that evening meeting that you do with clients occasionally? That's important to know. I think adjusting your schedule can help. And as you really dissect that, I've had a lot of advisors say, you know what? Why am I meeting with my best clients after 5 o'clock? I'm just not at my best. I'm at my best in the morning. So I'm going to shift my calendar. I'm going to make sure all best clients I'm talking to in the morning. And really shifting their calendar, maybe pushing less important things to later in the day, maybe when your energy level isn't as high. Clients need 100% for you. Not 90, it's not good enough. Not 80 at the end of the day. They need 100%. And you can achieve that if you just work on that calendar where it falls, your time a little bit, you can achieve 100% energy when you really need it. To me, energy management, it was defined best in my studies. It's the ability to call on energy when you need it at 100% at a moment's notice. If you can do that, you've successfully managed your energy. If you need to call on 100% at a moment's notice, then your management of that energy just isn't working. It's not as good as it could be. It's not as effective as it could be. Think about that. To be able to call on 100% at a moment's notice when you need to, that's what you need in those blocks of time when you are on with your client. It's a performance, like a music performance. If you're performing in Carnegie Hall in New York City, you've got to be maximum 100% energy, perfection. You've got to be on your game at those moments. You can't be 90%, can't be 80%. You can't say, gosh, I didn't sleep very well last night for whatever reason. I'm tired today. You've got to be able to call on 100% energy at a moment's notice. So pay attention to your day and your week even. When do you have high energy? When do you have lower energy? There might be days of the week, times of the day. It could be times of the month. Some advisors say, hey, I run hard for a few weeks in a month. In the last month, I don't have any client appointments. I kind of run hard and do that. So just pay attention to it. And again, this is an ongoing journey. It's not like you flip a switch and have this figured out. It's going to take us, discussing it and working on it as we go. But I'm excited to work on this with you. This is something I've worked on for a very long time. Again, I stumbled upon it by accident 10 years ago, but ever since, every quarter, I make an adjustment to my weekly schedule, my month, the way I approach things. I make notes for future years. Hey, pay attention to this so you don't get overloaded. You're going to have more gas in the tank here, so let's really, go after it. Make those little improvements, those little adjustments as you go. So the other thing in the day-to-day, just like that learning from Jim Lohr in Power of Full Engagement, the name of that book if you want to check it out. It's a great one. Just like those tennis players did to manage their energy, be more effective, plan some breaks in between your client interaction. I bet if you have days where it's just a revolving door, you end one, something healthy, and then get back into it. Remember, to be able to call 100% energy at a moment's notice when you need it in those performance blocks, that's key. And then maybe back off, have some breaks. Maybe plan some days off during the month to recharge. Maybe don't plan a lot of things at the end of the day Friday if you're running out of gas at that point in the week. So just track that. Kind of track when you're on, when you're not. I've seen people just keep a little journal and just kind of write down, hey, I was really good at this moment. Man, I felt really drained, or I just wasn't great in this meeting. Another thing could be clients. Maybe some clients that you just get energy working with. You could be something you're like, oh, this person, and they're just like an energy drainer. They're like a vampire because they're on your schedule, and for whatever reason, they're not your favorite to work with. Hey, let's cut them out or do something different there. So track it. They write it down in a journal. Can be really, really helpful here. I wish we could spend like years talking about this. I wish we had more time here, but it's just some very applicable things for advisors that I see you probably need. Look, if you work on time, you work on energy, you're naturally going to have less stress as a human being. Stress is the greatest and largest inhibitor of business productivity for you and for your team. So stress is like trying to run with shackles on. Now, optimal stress level is okay. A little bit of stress would be good. If you had zero stress, like you probably wouldn't even get out of bed as a human being. You would just lay there and have no motivation to do something. So we all have some level of stress that drives us to do something. It's a good thing. Too much stress is a problem. It becomes a barrier. It really holds us back. So we got to find that optimal zone, which if you work on your week and your energy, this will certainly help. And this, when you really get that down, you find that optimal level. We're removing the barriers, the things holding you back. This is where passion and productivity, that exercise that we work on, this is really where it aligns. And you can have the best energy management, which is product of time. Your best performance can really line up from that. So think about, gosh, how much better your practice could be if you could do things faster, if you could be at your best more often in the day, in the week, to have the ability to call on energy as needed 100% at any moment's notice. That's what we're looking for here. So again, like I always say, the things that got you to this point, they're going to be different things that got you to the next point. And literally whatever got you through 2021, or 2020, it's going to be something different gets you through 2021. Should be something different that gets you through subsequent years. So always evolve, always be changing your, if you call it a model week, how you invest time, how you manage your energy. It's very important. Now, I learned from some advisors who are a little bit older than me. I tell you, I've been going to Ameriprise conferences for 21 years. I'm still one of the youngest people 21 years in a row at those conferences. So some of the people that are more mature and a little bit older, they'll tell you, man, the energy that's in the phone or the energy that's in your body, it declines year to year. Now, physical fitness, other things will help you keep it going, but it's going to get more difficult. And when you hit your 50s or, you're towards the end of your career in your 60s, it's hard to handle a day that maybe you do in your 40s or 30s or your 20s when, you work crazy hours and cut yourself in the mirror and watch it heal. Those days kind of end. So we got to really be careful of that. Each year, it's going to get a little bit harder, but you can get a little bit better as you evolve year to year. So plan out those action steps for yourself. Just try those exercises. What takes the most amount of time in your week? Maybe what is an energy vampire you'd like to work on reducing or sort of cutting out for yourself? This is a big path to boosting overall productivity. Performance is everything, especially with your clients, your prospects, and it's going to be that product of keeping stress at that optimal zone, managing that energy, and executing time compression. It all ties together. So, hey, we've got lots of new programs to work with advisors. I know I work with most of you that are listening to this. Those of you that don't, I'm always happy to speak with you. Just shoot me an email anytime, respond to the follow-up email with this, and we're happy to talk with you. We've got lots of coaches on our team that all specialize in different things. And look, I'm all about growth. I'm all about seeing you grow. And if these little things make this much of a difference in your day, in your week, that's awesome. That's why I do what I do, is to help you get better. So I look forward to hearing about your successes, compressing time, managing that energy. Email them to me, text them to me. I look forward to hearing about them. If you're having challenges with it, let me know. But I look forward to discussing this in upcoming coaching sessions. Everyone stay bullish, stay awesome out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.